Hi, I'm Jamie Andreessen, a work-at-home mom passionate about helping entrepreneurs like you build a thriving laser business. Whether you're just starting out, looking to grow, or ready to scale your business, this podcast is for you. We'll dive deep into the world of lasers and other machine crafting equipment, cover topics like business strategies, mindset shifts, customer experience, and creative inspiration. I'll share my own experience navigating business with young kids, building a successful shop. Get ready to learn, grow, and have some fun. Welcome to Party with a Laser. Hello and welcome to episode number 9 of Party with a Laser. Today, we're talking about something super important, mistakes that can ruin your laser cut designs and how to avoid them. If you've ever had a design that didn't cut right, was impossible to assemble, or left you frustrated, don't worry, you're not alone. We've all been there. But today, we're going to break down some of the most common laser design mistakes so that you can create clean, professional, and profitable products. Let's get to it. First up, let's talk about one of the biggest issues, using low-quality SVGs, or files that are just not optimized for laser cutting. If you're using a raster image instead of a vector, it's not going to cut. A PNG or a JPEG will not cut on a laser, so you need to make sure that your file is vector-based, and I like using SVGs. If you have an SVG with unclean lines or that have unnecessary nodes or extra anchor point, your laser might take longer to cut these and could make the edges really jagged. So before starting your project, you're going to want to check your SVG and just look and see how many nodes it has. There are a couple of files that if you have a file that's been traced, it could have a lot of different extra nodes or jagged lines, ones that are not just optimized and has a smooth, clean cut to it. Just a little bit more about the nodes and cleaning them up. You can actually go into your file and click on each individual nodes and either add more of them or clean them up. You can also change if they are going straight or if there's a curve to the node. So go ahead and learn how to use your editing software to be able to change and edit these nodes. And the nodes are the little tiny pinpoint. Actually, let's just look at the actual definition of a node. Okay, in Adobe Illustrator, nodes are defined as defining points along your path that indicate the start and end of your line. At times, you may want to decrease the amount of nodes, especially for cut files. They are also called anchor points. Another thing is going to be the overlapping or duplicate lines. This could either cause your laser to work twice as much by cutting both lines twice, or actually could just cause the laser not to cut either line at all. What you're going to want to do is use either Adobe Illustrator, Inkscape, or Lightburn to clean up your design before you start to cut. In Adobe, I like to do the outline mode, which is the Control Y in Illustrator, to check for extra lines. And then if this is the first time that you've ever done this file, you can always just run a small section before you commit to the full job. Next, let's talk about kerf. Kerf is the amount of material burned away by the laser. If you ignore the kerf, pieces might not fit together properly. Common mistakes include tabs and slots not fitting together. If you're making a slotted design, like a box, pieces might be too loose or too tight to fit properly. One of the things that you're going to do to fix this is measure the kerf before cutting by taking a small square and subtracting it to the final measurement from the original. And then I actually have a test file in the laser notes for this podcast on my website at partywithalaser.com that you can download to test for kerf, and that should help a little bit. Another thing with kerf, not taking that into consideration, is text and small details might just completely disappear. If you're using a font with really thin letters, it could actually burn away completely, not making your thing stable. It might break in half, and you might just take too much material. So one of the things that you can do this is to use a bolder font or an outline on your font or engrave, and this is going to help keep your details nice and crisp and from breaking. The next common mistake that people make are too many small, intricate details. I know we all love making detailed, intricate designs, but too many details can lead to a nightmare when cutting. Tiny, fragile cuts can break too easy. So one of the things that you can do to fix this is bolden up your design or do an offset to make it even thicker. And that's going to help whenever you're laser cutting, that it's not going to take off too much and make your project too fragile. This is especially true when doing names at the connection point. I have found that if I make the names too fragile, they'll break at the connection point between letters. To fix this problem in names, I will do an offset to be able to thicken up the letters and the words to make them thicker, and that just really helps whenever cutting. The next common mistake is forgetting to weld your letters. If you don't weld your letters, then they're going to fall apart between each of the letters. Or if you're doing an engrave, you're going to be able to see a small little portion that did not get connected and won't engrave where the two letters meet. So to fix this problem, what you're going to do is you're going to weld your letters together, or you're going to do Pathfinder and connect them that way. If you're using Lightburn or a couple of other softwares, they will automatically weld them for you, which makes it really nice and easy. Okay, this next common mistake is really useful for if you are sharing files between people, especially if you're going between different computers, is make sure that you are converting text to outlines. That way, whenever you share it or send it to somebody else, the text file will be able to open and show up because the other person might not have the font on their computer. So if they don't have the font on their computer, if it's not been saved as a text outline, then it will not show up in the correct font. And then this is just a little tip for if you're working with fonts. Write down what fonts you're using and save it in the file on what font you use for what, because the last thing you want to do is go back 5 years later and try to be like, what font did I use on this? What is the offset I used on this? Keep notes for yourselves in the files. That's the easiest place for it. Lastly, a common mistake I see is not testing your design before selling or posting. Nothing is worse than a customer downloading an SVG that doesn't work. Make sure that you are testing it, and you can also send it to a friend to test, and make sure you're cutting it to make sure all the pieces fit together. A lot of lasers are different and don't all cut the same, so it's always great to find somebody with a different laser to test and cut your file to make sure everything lines up. Do you have any other common mistakes that people make when creating designs for laser cutting? If so, please let us know in the comments. Thank you so much for joining us today on this episode of Party with a Laser. If you're looking for more resources, head on over to partywithalaser.com, where you'll find show notes, all the links from today's episode, the blog, and so much more. If this episode was helpful for you, awesome. The greatest compliment I could receive from you is a rate, review, and subscribe on the podcast. Not only will this allow us to connect again on future episodes, it lets me know that I'm providing you with value, information, and helps other people find this content more easily. I'm truly appreciative of your support. Have a great day and see you next time.
BN. Have a great day. Bye-bye.